Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Descry Gaming, and right now we're on version 1.65 Gladius 40K, and a lot of balance changes, a lot of overall changes. One change I really like is Skyway Gunship has moved from tier 5 to 6, and Hammerhead's moved back to tier 5. So really cool, really good balance change for PvP. Master Possession can no longer heal himself. A lot of units cost or a set of power, upkeep, and reduce Spore Mines group size from 6 to 5. Okay, so they're not going to one-shot most infantry units now. Looks like. Okay, they really got nerfed a lot. Um, One big change was Chaos Spawns now take food, not power upkeep. Uh, Huge balance change for Chaos. Chaos based Marine heroes can no longer transform. So that is huge because a lot of times when they would change or to a Demon Prince, it was quite crappy. So I'm really glad. In fact, I'm shocked that they actually decided to do that. I did mention in Discord if they could change it where uh, Chaos Space Marine heroes couldn't transform. I'm just shocked that they actually listened to me and a couple other people, so that's cool. But that's a really nice thing for them, especially for PvP. They did buff the Demon Prince a little bit, so that's a little bit interesting. Um, so for my tips and tricks, what I do is I'm gonna select a couple factions, go over a couple things. There was some things on the Discord tips and tricks discussion. First was if we go look, I think it was about assault marines. All right, so let's read. So a person named Choft. I want to know why SM should ever use assault space marines, especially for people who are only picking 2 techs per tier. So that's a very good question. I don't think it's a dumb as ridiculous as Yurga thinks. Because if we look at what his main thing is, he wants to try to progress in the tech tree is picking a minimum of 2 techs. So what he's saying is he wants to go through the tech tree as fast as possible. And when he gets to tier 2, there's obviously some very good techs to pick up, namely the chaplain and dormitorios, the Spanish version. uh, Another problem is if you're going to pick assault marines, well, you need to get hammer wrath uh, to get the most out of it. So you can see if you want to go chaplains, assault marines, dormitorios, hammer wrath, you start to waste a lot of tech time in this one tier. So it's a fair point. I think it depends. Like, here's what I would say is, if you're going for a heavy infantry build with Space Marines, I think you either got to decide on going mass assaults with a sprinkle of normal tactical Marines. Uh, I don't advise going tacticals, assaults, and devastators because in order to make either assaults really good or devastators really good, you have to spend time unlocking their chapter tactic, which buffs their accuracy or damage or whatnot. And if you're doing assaults and devastators, then you have to also you'll be built producing, half and half. So I'm a believer of either go lots of assaults with some tacticals for Overwatch fire, or go lots of devastators with tacticals uh, to protect your devastators. I wouldn't do tacticals, assaults, and devastators because you have to spend to make it worth tactically. You have to spend a lot of tech on getting the chapter tactics and whatnot. So to answer this question, is it worth getting Assault Marines? Well, it's worth it if you're going infantry build, and but just make sure don't try to minimize. In my opinion, don't go the Devastator route. Even though I love Devastators, it's just you want to get everything for assaults. You want to get Assault Doctrine, which would eat up in your Devastator there. You want to get Combat Shield, Extra Infantry Armor, Close Combat. So yeah, Kraken Bolts even. Now, the other question is, well, how good are Assault Marines? Well, let's do a little test here. They're quite good with the right combo. So if you're doing the assault strategy, I highly recommend that Chaplain should be definitely... Well, Chaplain should always be in your build order no matter what as SM, but not meaning you have to build it early. But mid or late game, you want to Chaplain out to get the loyalty for SM. But the main point with a Chaplain is the 30% damage. And we take Assault Marine here. So the nice thing about Assault Marines is you have this ability. Let's do the upgrade. Okay. You have this ability called Jump Pack. And what it allows you to do is, like, you can fight very well in ruins and forests, because not only they do a lot of melee damage, but you can jump over your opponent to zone them, or jump over something to melt a bomb, a high value target. And not only do you have that mobility, but you have increased damage. So it makes it quite powerful. But the weakness, I would say, with Assault Marines is fighting out in the broad open, because you gain a lot of mobility by flying over river, ruins, and it's difficult for your opponent to go in there with vehicles when you're hiding in like forests and ruins. And if you get all the upgrades there, they're pretty tanky. Although they do take a lot of damage from blast. But now their main, so I'd say when you're doing Assault Marines, you want to try to fight in those type of environments like ruins and forests. Use that to your advantage. Next thing, you want to make sure you have a Chaplain. And what I would say is you always want, like when your Chaplain's out, you always want Assault Marines around your Chaplain, like behind it. That's always probably best, or around it. Now, say we're against, what do we want to put down? Yeah, say Tau. Say some hammerheads, right? Hammerheads. Alright, so there's a hammerhead right here. Okay, so see if I'm gonna just eat the Overwatch shot here with the Chaplain. Okay, now if you look at tacticals, right? Tacticals 15. Your melted bombs do like 10 armor penetration, I think, without upgrade. So generally speaking, I mean, the armor on this is 7, so don't really need the extra that 1 point of upgrade from the Pierce improved fray casing. So, but you can see the damage, 15. I'm gonna move this back. If I move, yeah, it does the same if 15. But when it starts to stack, you do your jump with assault marines. Okay, you can see now it's gone from 15 to 18. Now, if you did the buff with the chaplain, so from 15 to 23. So you can see how you can really punish somebody, and the fact that you have that mobility. So if you're, yeah, down here's a good spot. So say you're, let's just move some of these, or even cliffs, right? You can fly over a cliff, but you know, say this thing's coming in, no, and you could normally, if you're infantry, I could not. Is that river? Yeah, 1, 2. Well, you can fly all the way. Like it's, like I said, you want to create ambushes or use ruins. I mean, the other thing I didn't quickly mention, upgrade. Go to Descry. So you have these chapter edicts. So I did buff them with the chaplain, hammer wrath. Now if I did assault doctrine, two more accuracy, you can see the normal attack is quite good. 12. That's 12 damage right there. Of course, that's with the close combat mastery. If you even do bolter drill, they get a bonus on their thing. 13.2. Not as much as the assault doctrine, but yeah. But you can see how now these chapters don't do anything to your melted bombs. Just to let you know. The only thing that boosts it is the hammer technology and then the chaplain. But you can see, boom. And another thing is, I think they can pretty much. Let's just heal that up again. If it gets bad moral, I think one melt with the buffs from the chaplain, I think it kills it if it's demoralized. So if I put, let's get it just demoralized here. So that's yellow. So you can see it's almost dead on one melted bomb. So you can imagine you kill one of these tanks or high value units, demoralize them, and then your next assault marines jump in and do, it's a one-hit kill, potentially. So if I put one more down and kill it, it should go to red. Okay, and if we look, okay, so it's not, it's close. That's almost a direct kill there. Maybe if you had one of them on an altar. Oh, that's another thing. Take advantage when you're playing, like you have a very good target, Devastator, Assault Marine with Melta. Go on to one of these, okay? Because now, show you. Let's heal him back. So now it should definitely be dead in one hit. Oh, it's not? Wait. %17 attacks. Okay, so that's something I learned just right now. The Blood Blessing does not work with Melted Bomb. It does work with Devastator's normal beam attack. It does work for their normal sword attack. So normal sword attack's doing quite a bit, half damage, but yeah, okay. I thought it might work with the Melted Bomb. It does not. Yeah, so I mean, Assault Marines are great if they're used in the ruins and forests with chaplain. You can really, but if you fight your opponent out in the open, that's where they're weak. They don't have a good Overwatch shot, and you know, the things you want to have in the open are like, if you go with the Devastator route, they do much better because they got nice range 3 and they can hit stuff. So that's probably what I would say about that. Because the comment was about I want to know why SM should ever use Assault Space Marine. So hopefully I kind of give you a reason why we want to use it, and hopefully I answered that last part about picking 2 techs per tier. Sometimes you have to go back and at least pick, you know, one, like you obviously, if you want to grow for late game, you do need Dormitorios. So sometimes you might have, you know, 3 techs picked in a tier tree. It's not the end of the world. Yes, it's always better to go a specific tech route and 2 at the minimum to go through the tech tree. That's good strategy. But like I said, you can't always perfectly do that because there's some techs that are like very important. Okay, so that pretty much covers my whole thing about Assault Marines. Are they the best SM infantry unit? Probably not. But in certain situations, they are. Just like I said, Devastators can totally outperform them in if they have a nice open range 3 environment, right? But if you play Devastators and Ruins, fighting them Ruins, they're gonna do crap. So yeah, not worthless, but again, I would prioritize either going Assaults or going Devastators, but I wouldn't combine both of them. There was, I think, also a question on dealing with napkins. I think I had a question about we had a question about how do you defeat. I think I already answered it for him. It was a question about how to defeat SM heroes. Mainly, it came down to you need units that either do high piercing damage or stun grenades, or yeah, like every faction has units that have a very high armor penetration. They tend to be the best, especially like melta weapons, because they usually either do double, almost double when you're close to a target of armor piercing damage, or psyker units such as zonothropes and other such. So the key thing about heroes you got to remember is when they go into cover, okay, for instance, Force gives you 33% range damage reduction. So if you're trying to kill a hero with a ranged weapon in Forest, that right there is doing one third less damage. Okay, so that could be another reason why you're not killing the hero. Okay, so ideally, if you have an opportunity to kill a hero, you want to try to get the hero when it's sort of out in the open, ideally. But there's sometimes you can still kill heroes in cover with ranged units, but I would say that's when you want to try to do the hero sniping. What else do I want to talk about? I mean, here's the tips. Heroes. So, I guess another thing for PvP, I think this has been asked before, like, I see some players don't build heroes, or I see other players build heroes. My opinion, if you can get heroes into your build, either whether it be early or late game or mid game, I think heroes are worth it, especially if you know how to use them. Every faction has heroes that can really either tip the tide of battle or give you an economic advantage. So I don't think ignoring heroes the whole game is a good idea, although I know some players do that. I think late game, when you get into the tier 10 units, yeah, heroes don't really matter at that point, but pretty much early to mid game to mid late game, they can be super useful. What else do I want to talk about? Well, I know the submarine was, that one was asked on the Discord, so I got that out of the way. It's interesting. They tell you which factions are hard. Tyrannid's hard. Necron's easy. Oh, I think they got Astra Militarum right. Yeah, they're pretty hard. Oh, okay. I know what I want to talk about. I want to go to one of my videos. It was a 1 versus 2 I was playing. Yes, I'm gonna need it. I'm just gonna mute this. Okay. And why is it? This is not clear. Let me go to the actual video. Yeah, the reason why I want to show yeah, I want to show basically a couple things that I think so new players can understand a little bit more. But so what was happening in this game? I pushed, or I kind of met Tau, and we were skirmishing. Units were dying. I was killing Tau units. And it got to a point where I kind of killed enough of Tau's units where Tau had to kind of retreat. And then the white SM player, yeah, on the left here, starts to come, and he's going to attack me. But what I wanted to point out, that his attack wasn't such a great idea with the units he had. Okay, so he had view of my unit. He knows what I has because of the Tau player engaging me. So he knows that I have lots of Devastators, heroes. And what you don't want to do is put vehicles, like I have my hero basically not on the outside of the forest, but in the inside part. And the reason why I have my hero like that, because his tanks could not, unless my hero's on a ridge, like a elevated position, these tanks could not attack the captain. So they would have to come into the forest part, which then makes them a lot more susceptible for being attacked by my troops, my infantry. And I think that's exactly what happened. If we, whoops, we fast forward a bit more. Yeah, so he pushes all his stuff like right in there. And he's not going to kill the captain unless he had maybe two dreadnoughts that could get in there. Then yeah, which he does eventually bring one dreadnought in and does a pretty good job. But my point was, this was not a good spot for this SM player with vehicles to try to push a tight choke point with a hero, kind of making it harder for them to get in there. It just made it very easy for my tacticals with melta bombs to blow up this Praetorian tank, which I will. So you're gonna see me just kind of easily like kill this invading army that's, and I'm already beat up from the Tau player, so this is like basically a fresh army coming at me. But just tactically, this was not a good move for the SM player. So I'm just trying to point out that you want to, if you don't have a good terrain advantage, then don't attack with your army. You're just going to wind up getting grinded down or losing or trading poorly with the opposition. Sometimes you can maneuver your forces maybe down and away and then come up again around the enemy force. It might take a couple more turns, but you know, you'll have a better terrain advantage. And I don't know if my video is working. when, but I'll find out after this stream. But I'm okay. So Piranha died. The two Razorbacks died, and then I go in. I buff with the Chaplain, and I kill the Predator tank with the Melted Bomb and some orbital strikes. Okay, but yeah, I just wanted to go over knowing when to attack and when not to attack, and when you have a good terrain is very important. I think I'm going to cut this tips and tricks episode fairly short. If you guys want me to cover a specific faction or a specific unit, or you're struggling with a certain matchup, let me know in Discord, and I'll try my best to answer it or give you my take on that. But I think that's all I want to do for this episode of this Descry Tips and Tricks. I will see you next time.